Alright, we are going to look at the installation of external doors and windows, but before we go through the actual installation videos, there's a couple of things we need to cover. First thing we're going to look at is something called a joinery height. So if we look at these windows and doors along the wall of this house, you can see they are all sitting at different heights, but the tops of them all line up. And they all line up with what we call the joinery height. So when we look down here, we can see in this house we have a joinery height of 2100, and that is measured from finished floor level to the top of the aluminium part of the window. And from the inside, that's this spot here, top of the aluminium, which is the underside of the top reveal. So when we set these heights out, there's a clause out of the AS 1684 we need to be aware of, and that's this section here regarding openings. It specifies we must have a clearance of 15 mm between the underside of the lintel and the top of the window. So that's a slightly bigger gap than we usually use around the rest of the window, but that's important. And to discuss that further, we're going to go to another document, which is the Australian Window Association's fixing guide. So this is the next thing we're going to look at, and I'll leave a link to this in the description. So there's a fair bit of information to read through there, but I'm going to skip ahead to this drawing here. This has a couple of bits of information. One is method of fixings and method of packing. Now all these arrows means that you must fix the nail in, either nail or screw it in around all four sides. But you'll notice these lines which indicate locations of packing. It's packed around the bottom and sides, but not across the top. We do not pack across the top. And the reason we don't pack the top is the same reason we have a 15 mm gap across the top. And that is so that when the lintel above the window has roof load placed upon it, there's potential for that lintel to sag slightly under some weight, and we do not want the weight of a lintel pushing on the top of the window. If we see that this top jamb has pushed down after some time, we want the ability to take the architrave off, just tap the reveal back up straight, put the architrave back on without any structural members sitting on the top of it. The other part of this document is fixing spacing. So all of these charts tell you how many either nails or screws you need in a window of a particular size. Now, most of southeast Queensland is either N2 or N3 region, so I'm going to skip straight down to the N3 section. This one here is for 1.8 mm nails, which is your finish gun nails that most people use when installing windows. So when you look through this document, let's take an example. Let's look at a window that is 1800 wide, 1200 high. We follow those through. That tells us we need 14 of that size nail in that window to hold that window in an N3 area. And of course, if you live in somewhere like North Queensland, you're in sea or cyclonic areas, so you'd have to go to one of these charts to determine how many nails or screws you need in those windows. On a personal note, when I install my windows, I will usually put a pair of nails either side of the corner, there and there, and I'll do that on all four corners. Pair of nails, and then perhaps every about 600 mm in between, another pair of nails. And I find 90% of the time that will far exceed the nail requirements prescribed by the Australian Window Association, and it's plenty to keep the reveals nice and straight. So going back to this chart, always make sure that when you put these nails in, you always nail through the packing or the wedging that you've used. And that will be covered in a bit more detail in the installation videos, which are also available from the Australian Window Association's website. And I'll leave the link to those videos in the description as well. Alright, please continue on with those videos.